3, 2, 1, go.
What, no intro music?
No, I forgot to get it up, so I just did a
All
countdown.
right.
But that's how Joe Rogan starts his podcast. He goes 3, 2, 1, and then he says go.
Okay, well, all right. Hello, and welcome to HoneyBadgerRadio. This is your hostess, Allison Tiemann, and with me today is Brian Martin. Host personage. And with me today is Brian Martinez, and we are going to be talking about Joe Rogan, Brett Weinstein, Brett Weinstein, not the other one, talking about Vice's interview with Professor Jordan Peterson.
Professor Doctor.
The title of this is Dust Up Over Makeup, because that was the subject. That was the takeaway. That was the important point from that interview.
Yeah, that was, of everything that happened in the Vice interview that could have been discussed as really fucked up, for some reason the makeup question just freaked everybody out. I wonder why. I wonder if there's some evolutionary psychological reason that we freak out over the makeup question. It's like, it's worse than the JQ. It's the MQ. All right. So I have some time codes.
I know. Well, but it's seriously, there's a context here. Do you remember everybody freaking out over the makeup app? The one that takes away women's makeup?
The make app, yeah.
The make app. It's just like, I actually sort of floated in my own little world through that entire fracas tempest.
Yes.
I didn't even notice it. And then for some reason I was like, well, I wonder what this woman looks like without makeup. Oh, I remember. There was a makeup app that did that. And so I did a search on it, and I saw pages and pages and pages of butt hurt in Google. Like just oozing butt hurt. Like, just like, you know how sometimes your dog gets impacted anal glands? It looked like the internet. What was the dog that drags its ass over your carpet because it has impacted anal glands over this makeup app?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of butt hurt.
There's a lot of butt hurt. There's a lot of impacted anal gland.
It was a
rubbing
literal shitstorm over it.
Okay, but so I guess makeup is a really hot and very controversial topic.
It's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic, yeah. So, you know, maybe they have a reason to have zeroed in on this particular aspect of Vice's interview with Jordan Peterson. And you've watched the whole podcast, have you, or just this segment?
I did not watch the whole podcast, but this segment doesn't, from what I can tell, it doesn't take things out of context. It's likely they move on from there. If you've ever watched a Joe Rogan podcast, 1 minute he's asking you a deep socio-political question, and the next minute he wants you to see like some guy who punched a kangaroo in the face. So it's probably better that we just look at this little clip instead of like watching the whole thing. Besides, I gotta be okay. In the interest of full disclosure, I don't like Brett Weinstein. I don't like him. I think he's an opportunist that used what happened at Evergreen University, which is a situation that he helped create in order to become popular, because the guy has appeared so many times on Joe Rogan. I'm like, how? Do you have him on speed dial? Are you just asking to come on? I don't like him. So take that what you will. I'm just, in the interest of full disclosure, putting it out there. Now, Joe Rogan, he's okay. Sometimes I think he plays the middle too much and tries to play it really safe. And I think it's one of the reasons why he never got Karen on, because they were in discussions. But I think it's because, like, the stuff that we talk about, it's just too dangerous to his career, and he wouldn't go there. So maybe one day, but not right now.
We are the nitroglycerin of the internet.
Absolutely. But Joe Rogan's okay. He's okay. All right. So let's
I love this entire series is shaping up to be Brian's real opinion about people. It's real cool. Who knew?
Well,
all right.
It's normally there's too many people on the panel, but okay. So
maybe we'll get into Brian's real opinion of the rest of us as well. No, it's
okay.
I'll exempt myself from the episode you talk about me. Okay.
I'm gonna let Joe Rogan set the clip up. I may have to pause a couple times for Banana, but there won't be really much to respond to here. This is just so that I'm not taking anybody out of context and we're not strawmanning the arguments. So here we go.
The Joe Rogan experience.
Right. Now, one of the things that came up real recently was this Jordan Peterson interview with Vice, which, in my opinion, especially when you look at the sound clip.
Look at the sound clip. Sorry, that's funny to me because you can't look at a sound
I think
clip.
we need to rechange the name of this to like HBR Bitchy or like a Bitch Slab or like. I don't
Look,
know. All right.
we all make mistakes. But
yeah, like seriously.
But that's
I don't
funny.
know if we're the right podcast or group of people to be throwing aspersions at anyone.
Yeah.
Especially me. Like that sounds like a mistake I would make. But
oh yeah, you make a lot of mistakes, but that's okay. And we normally let you know. So I just thought that was funny, and it also gives me an excuse to Banana without having to Banana with nothing to say. So
I wonder if Rogan is really, I don't know, strict about his copyright on YouTube. I guess it's not worth.
I don't know. This comes from JRE Clips. I believe that's a Joe Rogan YouTube channel, but I don't know. I mean, I think lots of people probably respond to his work. I would imagine. I have no idea, really. It all comes down to whether or not we slander him. Maybe.
Yeah, well, no, we're not going to do that. Christopher Mann says, "Look at the sound clip. Hear the colors."
Can you paint with all the colors of the wind?
Oh right. Man, so let's listen some more. Let's hear Joe Rogan's oral or colors.
His oral rainbow.
We're talking about women in the workplace and women wearing makeup and high heels and things in the workplace. And I know Jordan very well. I love him. He's a great guy. He came off aggressive there, and I don't know why. I don't know if he's tired of it or if he's digging his heels in. I mean, it
was apparently part of a 2-hour interview.
Yes.
All right, I'm just pausing it here for the Banana, but also I think it's important for us to see some of the context. So I'm going to switch over to the Vice interview with Jordan Peterson. So we can determine for ourselves, did Jordan Peterson come off as aggressive? And more importantly, does it matter? All right, so Allison, listen to this. So hopefully this is correct.
I'm listening.
Where I'm at in the sound clip.
What the rules are. Like what? Here's a rule. How about no makeup in the workplace?
Why would that be a rule?
Why should you wear makeup in the workplace? Isn't that sexually provocative?
No.
It's not?
No.
Well, what is it then? What's the purpose of makeup?
Some people would like to just put on makeup.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why do you make your lips red? Because they turn red during sexual arousal. That's why.
Yeah, it is pretty aggressive. But you're right, does it matter? And the thing is that guy was being completely disingenuous. And I can see why Peterson is getting less and less pleased with the people around him. And I also think that judging from some of the interviews, some of the post-Vice interviews that or not post-Vice, but post-Kathy Newman may have been Peterson's watershed moment. He is starting to grasp the sheer scope of how bad this will get if it continues. And he may no longer feel as inclined to tolerate people's bullshit. And the guy was disassembling. There is absolutely no reason to wear makeup except for as a sexual display. There are various things that makeup does, and this is supported by psychological studies into showing a face with makeup, showing a face without makeup, that kind of a study. Makeup does emulate the physical expression of arousal.
Yeah.
So swollen lips, swollen red lips, blush, but it also mimics some of the aspects of what people look like when they're at peak fertility. The contrast that makeup gives to the skin. So the dark eyelashes, the white skin, the contrasting lip colors. Contrast is a signifier of fertility and youth, as is clear skin. It's a signifier of fertility and youth. Everything that makeup does is to is to emulate, to simulate an expression of being sexually aroused or being young and fertile. It is a sexual display. There's no way to get around it. And the fact that women say, because it's predominantly women who wear makeup, so then we're going to be talking about women when we're talking about why people, the psychological reasons for wearing makeup. They will say that they're putting their face on is like, and they think it's maybe a neutral act, but essentially it's painting on a display of sexual interest to present to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to say that is a problem, that women should be able to do that, paint on this sexual display, then how can you turn around and say other forms of visual display of sexuality, like pinups, like somebody taking a picture of their girlfriend in a bikini and putting it on their desk? How can you point to that and say that is sexual harassment, but women painting a sexual display on their bodies is not? Like what he's trying to get at here, and yes, he's being aggressive because the guy's being disingenuous.
Yep.
There is, in a society where everybody was neutered, nobody would be wearing makeup. Nobody. If there was no sexuality, there would be no reason to wear makeup. Because the strength that the makeup gives these women is the sexual display gives them that power. Gives them the power of influencing people through sexuality, men through sexuality. And there'd be no reason to do it if it wasn't a sexual display. So, the interviewer can sit there and say, oh, no, that's wrong, only once. But he's denying reality. And I can see that Peterson is getting less and less charmed by people who completely deny reality, especially when they're the people who are gatekeeping truth as the media. and I can see how disturbing that would get. So I can understand why he might be getting aggressive in this instance, just based on what I think he's coming to understand is the enormity of the problem that we're facing.
Oh, yeah.
I think that we're facing possibly the death of language, because language can't be used in this manner, the way the media is using it, in perpetuity. And it is a scary thought. And I'm talking to people, I'm looking at what's going on in the world. And, I don't know if we're going to survive this. But, be that what it may, we still have to truck on and try. That's the nature of the beast. So let's you want to continue? I'm
sure.
Pretty much done on that.
First thing, there is a super chat, so I guess we can give that a read. Pepe says, if I could get the Doge to say "ora ora ora ora" during a banana or at least a JoJo meme, that would be great. Well, since he did give us $5, so. There you go. Hopefully that will be sufficient. And okay, so let me go back to my sound time codes. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here to try to get to where we were or what's important. So now this is Brett Weinstein and his thoughts on this.
What happened? I do think...
Oh, sorry, Brett Weinstein. I'm getting my E's and N's mixed. Yeah.
What happened? I do think Peterson, who I also know, I don't think I know.
Can you give us the Cliff Notes or what?
Yeah, I mean, the Cliff Notes are, he said, look, this is how one engages in thought. One advances an idea. It doesn't mean something's going to happen.
Right.
I should explain that a little bit. So Peterson he was on a stage talking about his book, I think, later after the Vice interview, and he was explaining that the reason why he was proposing these ideas about makeup in the workplace was because he was trying to engage in thought around it. Like, we can't have an honest conversation around sexuality, then we're not going to fix this problem, and we also need to identify whether or not it is a problem. So, but in order to do that, we have to be able to talk honestly about it. So that's just to bring that up, that there was some additional footage that came out after the Vice interview with Peterson, which, I mean, I thought, for me, it was obvious that that's what he was doing. He was basically challenging the Vice guy on his preconceived notions about what sexual harassment is, who engages in it, and what the rules should be. So
I think he literally says, I didn't say women shouldn't wear makeup in the workplace. I said maybe, and this is what we do. And then he describes, he says, let's agree that I'm going to put forward 10 things that might happen, and then let's agree that none of them are going to happen. So now we can discuss the possibilities. So,
okay. Just pausing for the banana right now. Allison, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't disappeared on you. I'm not going to do that to you, dude.
Okay. All right. No, I mean, I don't know if you could
wander
have,
off.
your internet could have dropped or something. So okay.
That's true. That's true. Okay, but just to explain what the banana is, we have to pause every 20 seconds for copyright issues. I know that makes it very chopped up, but we are one of the few channels that doesn't regularly get copyright strikes because we put too much of somebody else's content in our work. To describe what's going on here, essentially, it seems like Brett Weinstein understands that Jordan Peterson isn't necessarily committed to the presumption that women should not wear makeup at work. He's just putting it out there as a talking point.
Mm-hmm.
So in that context, if Brett Weinstein disagrees with him, it's just a disagreement. It's just a thought experiment.
Yeah, he hasn't brought up the disagreement yet. But
Okay.
Well, let's continue.
so I don't think we know what the actual interview with Jay Kang looked like, because there was 2 hours of it, and I've seen 15 minutes.
Yeah, why won't they release more of it?
I think they should release the whole thing. I do think what I saw, so we don't know the context,
Right.
which my guess is Peterson's pretty careful in what he says.
All right. Now, here's, I think, where his disagreement comes in.
My guess is the context would be revealing. I think based on the part that we know that he said, because it is in the clips that we've seen, we know something's funny because the editing juxtaposes him seeming to contradict himself, and he's actually pretty careful not to do that. But what he did actually say contains what I regard as at least one significant error.
All right. Pausing for the banana. Now he's...
It's okay. Let's find out what you consider to be the error that Jordan Peterson made, Brett Weinstein.
So he says, I do think that, in response to the question of, are women hypocrites for wearing makeup to work, and then I don't want to put words in his mouth, but something like demanding not to be harassed or something like that.
All right, let me go to Joe Rogan. Now, let me go back to the Vice interview so you can see what Joe Rogan actually said. Or not Joe Rogan.
You mean Jordan Peterson.
What Jordan Peterson actually said, sorry.
Ha!
I'm only human.
Should people be allowed to flirt in the workplace?
Do you feel that, let's just, yes or no question, do you feel like women wearing makeup in the workplace contributes to sexual harassment in the workplace?
Sure, it contributes.
And so what should be done about that? You as a clinician who believes that there should be prescriptive ideas that don't mandate behavior, but that will guide behavior.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Do you feel like women shouldn't wear, do you feel like a serious woman who does not want sexual harassment in the workplace, do you feel like if she wears makeup in the workplace that she is somewhat being critical?
Yeah.
Once again, makeup is a sexual display. It is a sexual display, and maybe not inviting harassment, but certainly inviting attention. And the problem is that how do we define harassment? If harassment is defined as attention by someone you don't want to give you attention, and just one-time attention. So, for example, a man you find unattractive says, "Hey, that's a really nice blouse. It brings out your eyes," and the woman says, "Oh my God, you are a total minger. How dare you?" Is that harassment? Because technically, anything a woman considers to be intimidating or uncomfortable is harassment. So he could just look at her and that might be considered harassment or intimidating. So and it is a question, where is the line drawn? If men are going to be judged based on their physical appearance, like if you have 3 different men say exactly the same thing to a woman, and the one she finds attractive is the one that she considers not to have harassed him, then how can we not also hold women responsible for attracting the attention? Like,
Yeah.
and
that's the thing too, is that, see, when Peterson says, when the guy says, do you think that a woman wearing makeup in the workplace, does she contribute to sexual harassment? Does that contribute? So he's not saying is that the cause, he's saying is that a factor? And Peterson says, well, yeah, of course it does.
Well, so what he's saying is, does a sexual display contribute to getting sexual attention? Let's take harassment out of it, because harassment is such a subjective thing. Let's just call it sexual attention, because it's all of the sexual attention, including sexual attention that women don't want and the sexual attention that they do want. Does a sexual display ... contribute to getting sexual attention? One would suggest yes. Well, just through the process of cause and consequence and causality, that a sexual display does indeed lead to sexual attention. That just putting it out there, and that since harassment is a subset of sexual attention, a sexual display can lead to harassment, or can be implicated in harassment, in leading to harassment. And furthermore, sexual displays can be themselves harassment. Feminists would say they can be harassment, and they can also constitute sexual abuse. So the question then becomes, if women have a sexual display, which, because it's a sexual display, all sexual displays are designed to elicit sexual attention. That's why you see baboon females with their gigantic purple ass swellings. They're trying to get sexual attention. That's what a sexual display does. It gets sexual attention. Mm-hmm. Is it fair for women to go into the workplace, create a sexual display, and then expect men not to respond to it, and I mean, there's an expectation there that if you create a sexual display, which in the course of events will elicit a sexual response in another person, and you say, oh, no, you're not allowed to do that, even though it's almost an instinctual response to the sexual display, you're not allowed to do that. Isn't that in and of itself a form of sexual abuse? Like, and furthermore, why is any of this, should this be in the workplace? Why should it be there? Why should any of this be in the workplace? Why should a sexual display be in the workplace? Is that what you're there for?
Yeah.
When you're working, you're there for your utility, not your sexual value.
Oh, and we're going to get to that, because there is something that Jordan says is sort of related to what you're talking about. And there's also, I saw Agent Smith made a comment in the comment section about how there's a there's like another argument that's made against this idea that makeup is sexually provocative, or it's used for sexual attention. We're going to get into that too, because that's mentioned in this clip. The exact same example, in fact. So let's, I was going to say something, but I can't remember what it is now. So fuck it. Just keep going. So I'm at 5:02. All right.
Like that. So he's forgetting that many of these signals aren't conscious.
Not only
doing that.
Not conscious, but, I saw somebody online discussing this. They made a very good point, one that's actually pretty hard to field.
This is the point.
If these are signals, even unconscious ones, if they are sexual signals, why am I wearing one to go to a family reunion? Why am I wearing high heels to go to a family reunion? Am I secretly trying to get lucky at my own family reunion?
Intersectional competition with your female relatives. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
This is really simple. And there's a huge amount of it. There's a huge amount of daughters who diet because their mom said your butt's getting too big. And that is, again, it's intrasexual competition with female relatives. That just like, okay, so that was difficult to field. It wasn't for me. Another point in the super genius column, I would say. But seriously, that's a trivially easy comment to field. And furthermore, these are not unconscious symbols. How can you say presuming that he was referring to makeup, women are consciously purchasing the makeup and applying it to their faces. This is a conscious signal. An unconscious signal is pupil dilation or blushing, okay?
Yeah.
Or the engorgement of the erectile tissues of your face. Those are unconscious signals. Makeup is a very, very conscious signal. So what's interesting to me is by saying that we can't hold women accountable for their conscious decisions to do certain forms of sexual signaling in the workplace, he is appealing to this idea that women don't make choices. That somehow that when a woman purchases $200, has a job, puts money in her bank account from her job, walks to the counter, the makeup counter at a Bloomingdale's or whatever, purchases $400 worth of makeup, takes it home, puts it in the specific caddy that she has created for it, next morning pulls it out and spends 45 minutes applying it in minute detail to her skin. All of that is done unconsciously. According to Brett Weinstein, women do all of that. Is there anything that women do consciously? Are women capable of consciousness, Brett Weinstein? Do they have consciousness? Are they sentient creatures? I think you're arguing that they are not. And this is the funny thing. In order to absolve women of responsibility for their conscious choices to make sexual signals in the workplace, Brett Weinstein is removing the perception that they are actually sentient beings, that they are full human beings. He's destroying that. He's buying into that kind of destruction of the self of women. So it's interesting. I think if your argument rests on the idea that women are no more sentient than a jellyfish, then you are an asshole.
So you see what I see in Brett Weinstein now.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay,
you know what?
okay.
I mean, I could get a little bit more pissed about this, but to be quite frank, I'm a lot less offended by Jordan Peterson saying, hey, yeah, no, wait. Makeup is a conscious sexual signal. It's a consciously decided sexual signal. Then Brett Weinstein squirming and sliming his way around recognizing women's human agency. Recognizing it, and instead substituting some kind of belief in their complete and utter, they don't have brain activity, or sorry, they have brain activity, but it's all subconscious. Women exist on the level of the subconscious, like an animal,
Yeah.
Brett Weinstein, 2018. Okay.
There you go. All right, got some super chats here. The Spence Fencer gives us $5 and says, this channel is a result of the new content spamming game. Larger content is being cut up into 10-minute chunks and spammed across a dozen or other channels. I'm not sure what he's referring to. It might be the actual YouTube channel that I'm sharing, which is called JRE Clips, which takes like these 10-minute chunks from Joe Rogan's longer podcast. Maybe that's what it's about. I'm not sure. Joey Jojo gives us $5 and says, I fear that I may be labeled a harasser at work. I don't look at, talk to, or walk behind women unless they are over 40. My coworkers think I am gay now. Well, then maybe you'll be less likely to be accused of being of harassing women. Point Curation gives us $5 Canadian and says, if Vice is listening, please release the full Jordan Peterson interview. I can't take you seriously as journalists as it is. Well, I mean,
don't take Vice seriously.
Yeah, please don't take Vice. Please don't take Vice so seriously. And Disillusioned Jelly gives us €5. No comment, just gives us €5. So thank you guys so much for the donations. And now I think there's a little more that Weinstein has to say, so we're going to keep going here, okay?
And the answer is no. This is not a matter. What Peterson said, when, Peterson has done so many interviews, the fact that he says a clumsy thing here doesn't strike me one way or the other.
It wasn't a clumsy thing. You just misunderstood what he was saying, or you don't understand what the difference between conscious and unconscious is. And considering he's supposed to be a biologist, I find that worrying, to say the least.
And I would add something else. Once again, Jordan Peterson is recognizing that sexual signaling, makeup as a sexual signaling, is a conscious choice on the part of women. You are appealing to it being some sort of unconscious, I don't know, what, women just fall into a face mask? You know, it just sort of happens. This is ridiculous. You're removing women's agency in order to do this. And I'm tired of men who do this being seen as somehow not hating women when they do it. When your entire argument absolving women of responsibility for something requires you to embrace the idea that they are subconscious, unconscious, or have the satience of an animal, you are not pro-woman. Because you can't be pro-woman if you don't respect women as individuals making individual choices. It's just the fact. And I don't care that people think that it's internalized misogyny for women to recognize when they and other women are making choices. It's not. This whole narrative is so fucked up. Okay, continue.
All right. Parking Lot Batman made a comment saying, why you got to be up Brett's ass about saying a clumsy thing here. Well, I'm just holding him to the same standards he's trying to hold Peterson to, except that I actually have an argument. Plus,
wait a second. What the hell are you talking about saying clumsy? He's making a presentation of an idea, and we are arguing the idea. Personally, I think if you have to get rid of, in order to maintain your idea, you have to entertain the concept of women as being subsatient, then maybe you might want to reconsider your idea. Okay, continue.
Right. Okay. Continuing
and sorry,
on.
continue with what you were going to say, because I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying that, you know, I'm just holding him to the same standard he's holding Peterson, except that it's obvious that what he's saying is a pretty direct quote of what he's saying, as opposed to Peterson, where he's misunderstanding or intentionally, twisting what he says. And the thing is, I don't know, I think personally, it's just me. It's not an argument. I don't have a lot of evidence to back it up. I'm not pretending like this is like an absolute statement. However, I think that Brett is trying to nitpick at Peterson because Peterson enjoys a great deal of success and attention that Brett wishes he had. There, I said it. That's what I think.
And somebody, another person who just can't handle the idea that women make choices. It's that Dale W in the comments says, it's that some women do not realize that makeup is a sexual Okay, really?
Some women do not realize that makeup is a sexual signal? That's
so
what Brett means?
We have to accommodate the 12% or however many percent of women who lack a certain amount of cognitive function.
Not all, Allison, not all.
I'm not saying all. Not all.
This guy's
all.
saying
just
not
the
all.
Ones that are dumb.
Not all women
just the ones
know
that
they're putting on makeup for
Dale,
attention.
okay. How many women do you think are really stupid? Do you think that being a woman is equal to being really stupid? Or are you just saying that we should be considerate towards the really stupid women, which you think are most women? Or is it less than most women? How many women do you think are that stupid? Okay, let's continue.
All right. Godiva, I just want to respond to this too, says, while wearing makeup is sexual signaling, I believe that in many cases it's intrasexual competition more than signaling to men. I mean, I don't know if it's more, but I do think that that intrasexual competition is another reason to wear makeup, but it's still sexual, right? Whether you're doing it just
you're competing with the sexual. Your female relatives will compete with each other's sexual attractiveness.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing. You can't deny that happens.
All right, and we got a super chat from Cyberzerk for 200 secs. Since men and women can share a workplace, it's absolutely normal and acceptable to find your partner there, or at least it was in most cultures. The question is, shall we go full Sharia or back to due process? Well, actually, it's good that you point that out, Cyberzerk, because there is a study done that shows that a majority, like I don't remember what the number was, but there was a high percentage of married couples that actually met at work. And it's actually very common for that to happen. As far as full Sharia or back to due process is concerned, I think that the way the feminists and the Me Too movement would like it to be is Sharia is looking like an inevitability if they get their way. But there's also another route which Jordan Peterson explores, although he doesn't do so directly, which we'll get to in a clip coming up. All right. So in the meantime, I'm going to move on with the rest of this clip. I think. Yeah.
But I don't want to be put in the position of defending that women are hypocritical for wearing makeup and high heels. There are lots of reasons that you have to wear them, including social pressure, including the fact that you are in
intrasexual competition, social pressure. Yes, this is true. Other women will wear it and judge you if you don't.
Yes.
It's still a sexual signal. And also, wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better to take that social pressure off and simply say no makeup in the workforce, no sexual signals? We're not in a sexual environment. Just putting it out there.
Yep.
Oh,
go ahead. Sorry. Right. Every time I hit play, you're like, oh, and one other thing.
So women can hide behind the fact that they get socially pressured to put on makeup, or actually, they're not even hiding behind it. Joe Rogan is presenting this as an idea. I assume that I got the voice right.
No, this is actually Rogan. Weinstein still talking.
Weinstein. Okay, Weinstein is presenting the idea that I'm really biting back. I'm having difficulty because they both sound fairly high pitched. So Weinstein is presenting the idea that social pressure excuses women presenting these sexual signals in the workplace. Does social pressure or any kind of pressure excuse men responding to it?
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Go back and listen to the whole thing because I keep interrupting you. And
oh yeah, I went back a little bit. So here we go.
Femterrupting you.
And high heels.
So he's saying I don't think that women should be called hypocrites for wearing makeup and high heels. And in the Vice interview, Jordan Peterson says, "Sure, if this is the thing that's important that Brett leaves out." Jordan says, essentially, he agrees to the idea that women will be hypocrites for wearing makeup and high heels if they want to be able to go to their work, to their job, and never get unwanted attention. Which is essentially what harassment is unwanted attention. Or at least it can be characterized as that, right? So, and this means that women in the workplace don't have to essentially toughen up and deal with the fact that if you sexually signal to other people, either wearing, short skirts, high heels, makeup, a low cut top, and this happens. I used to work in downtown Chicago, and there were lots of law offices and lots of very attractive secretaries and paralegals that would come and shop in my store at the gift shop, and they were all wearing lots of makeup, very revealing clothing if they could get away with it, especially in the summertime. And I mean, I don't know if there was any like sexual harassment shit going on, but they were getting engaged and married on the job. So, one has to ask, would a workplace like a law firm in downtown Chicago in the Sears Tower be a good place to find a man? I would say yes. So, and if you're going to find a man there, how do you go about doing it? And I think they were engaging in that. Now, but it's good for them because they have the luxury of simply putting signals out there, and if the wrong men approach them, they can just accuse them of sexual harassment and get them fired so that those guys don't bother them anymore while they wait for the right guy to come along and actually propose or ask them out on a date. So maybe this is an important conversation we have to have because, to what Jordan Peterson said before, we don't know where the lines are, but they appear, if we're looking at where the goalposts are at, for men, the goalposts seem to be very far away and hard to get to, and for women, they don't seem to exist. So,
yeah, and the other thing is that we have feminists now who are banning women who basically, attractive models from employment because they're considered attractive. They bring out rewards or announce rounds or whatever, and they're eye candy and they're employed in that, and feminists don't like that. So I don't know. It just seems to be a lot of hypocrisy here. So that's a problem. Those kinds of sexual displays.
It's a massive blind spot is that's me being really charitable to
and
Weinstein.
Jordan Peterson was like, let's look at this blind spot and let's find out the rules. And let's also acknowledge that if you're a woman creating a sexual display, you are going to get sexual attention. Sexual displays get sexual attention. And a subset of that attention will be from people you don't want to get attention from. And I thought a good rule of thumb is that if you say, I don't want to, please subsist. But then again, I mean, if you are in a situation where you are considered to be unattractive and someone is continuously presenting a sexual display towards you, and then you feel like you're rebuffed from responding to that sexual display, I mean, that's really not a very nice place to be in. You know, it's an uncomfortable place to be in. And imagine being that guy. He has to walk past someone with their, you know, their breasts, you know, fully on display and the huge lips and everything, and knows that if he approaches her, she will, you know, she'll get him punished, or even just rejection is a form of punishment. I mean, is that fair? Is that kind? Is that a kind way to conduct yourself?
Right. And if you're part of a movement that's trying to stamp out sexual harassment in any and all workplaces completely, how can you do that honestly and ignore the other side of the coin? Completely not measure it at all.
And the other thing is, if we reduce the level of this intrasexual competition, we not necessarily, you know, like everybody in an abaya, but maybe a little bit more modesty. Maybe what might happen is that people would be selecting for, you know, attractiveness, yes, because that's never going to go away. But maybe there'd be other characteristics of women might come to. Oh, that's why.
Merit.
You know, like merit. Oh, oh, damn. Okay, never mind.
That pesky standard
that
thing.
That pesky human merit, like being a moral person or industrious or intelligent. God forbid women be measured on those terms. Okay, let's continue.
All right, so let's continue.
Are hypocritical for wearing makeup and high heels. There are lots of reasons that you have to wear them, including social pressure, including the fact that you are in a landscape of other people wearing them, and if you stand out as being plain in a world of other women who are amplifying these things, it may actually have implications for your ability to earn. So there are a lot.
Okay.
Appealing to other women has implications for your abilities to earn? That's
maybe
an interesting statement.
Maybe if there are female bosses, or if he's suggesting that which is more likely, he's suggesting that male bosses will give promotions to attractive women over unattractive women.
Well, attractive people tend to make more.
Yeah,
this is true.
Attractive people. Yeah.
Yeah, attractive people. It's actually, the effect is much more pronounced for attractive men. I know that people don't know that, but it's true. In fact, short men and short and unattractive men receive a more significant monetary penalty than fat and unattractive women.
Oh yeah, being a short man is the worst. I mean, I'm not short, but I mean in general, it's the worst. I know a short guy, and he's the best dude, man. But he's like, you know, under 5 feet tall. But he's got everything together. He is, you know, of high. He's extremely moral. He's honest. He's, you know, he earns good money. He's really conscientious. He's very professional. He's a really good friend, but he's short, so he has very bad luck with women.
Yeah, but here's the thing is, but you'll see how Brett Weinstein is creating this situation where he's absolving women of any kind of social pressure to make the choice to put makeup on, but you can't absolve men of the social pressure to respond to the sexual displays. So he's holding men to a much higher standard expectation of taking responsibility for their actions. And he's holding women to a far lower standard and saying, like children, they can't be expected to take responsibility for their choices, to bow to peer pressure, or to make conscious decisions about what they put on their faces. They can't do that because, you know, women are just not capable of that. And but at the same time, as I assume that a man like Brett Weinstein would expect that women could perform at the same level as men when it comes to doing things that society maybe doesn't like. Anything innovative is going to be going against the grain. It's going to be going against convention. It's going to be going against social pressure, because people don't usually like new things until they realize that it's awesome.
It's risky.
It's risky. So at the same time, as I would assume that he would point at situations where women are not innovating, they're not leading companies, they're not making those risks and being unconventional, because every leader of a company is unconventional to some degree. And yet he's not giving them those little micro, I don't want to call it, it's like there's moments where you're expected to take responsibility, you're expected to hold to your individuality and establish yourself as separate from the herd. He's not holding women to that standard, so they have those expectations to live up to, even in small ways. Like, I'm not going to wear this kind of makeup, I'm not going to wear these heels, I'm going to do what I want to do with my wardrobe. That's a small way of establishing yourself as an individual, bucking the trend, not going with the herd. It's this small moment, but overall, over a woman's lifetime, expecting them to assert themselves in these ways and to take responsibility in these ways develops a stronger sense of individuality, character, and the expectation that you fight against the conventional, which would then lead to more innovation, more achievement. But instead, he wants to put women in this category right next to children and presumably minorities as well, because we like to subsume them into this and just see them as not capable, or not, they shouldn't be expected to be held to the same standard, because God forbid they get the progressive exercising of the ability to stand up for oneself and one's individuality and take responsibility for how one's choices creates one's world. Because I don't know, what would happen to women if we did that? What would they become if we actually held them to the standard, or they held themselves? Actually, if we actually said, no, it was your choice to wear makeup. That was your choice. Live with the consequences. You make these small choices in your life, these choices have consequences. Live with them. Learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And develop yourself as an individual by understanding that your choices have consequences. Anyway.
I actually think that it's actually really would be very empowering for them to learn that what they do has a significant impact on themselves and the people around them. If they only owned those things, it's actually pretty liberating. But I think it'd be extremely uncomfortable at first, especially if they're accustomed to being able to back out of it. All right, so we got some super chats. Woman. Oh, this is from Freckinator2. By the way, guys, let me know if I sound okay. Woman. Quote. I put
Frenchinator.
On... The Frenchinator. Oh, I see. Frenchinator. No, it says Fretchinator. There's no N. Fretchinator2. Woman. I put on makeup to feel good about myself. End quote. Yes, because it increases your sexual value. Brett, Social Construct, Weinstein. Darth Elwin, $5. Social pressure is such a bogus rationale. Before transition, I chose not to give into social pressure as a woman. Respect their choices. Respect their poor choices, too. Joey Jojo, $2. That feel when short, ugly, awkward male. That's okay, Joey Jojo. There's also women who are shorter than you, and maybe, it's all about, ratios. Bat Pepe, $5. Dave Chappelle said it best. If you try to attract the right man, you will attract the wrong ones too. Tits are not a homing missile, they're nukes. That's actually
yeah.
That's pretty good. All right. Shall we continue?
Let's.
Okay.
Lots of reasons that you might do it that have nothing to do with you as an individual trying to signal for sexual attention.
Oh, geez. Now we know what Brett Weinstein doesn't want to respect. Women as individuals. Oh, my God. There's nothing to do with women as individuals here. These are these individual choices that women are making, but it does nothing to do with women as individuals. Does anybody else see through this? Just listen to it again.
Oh, no, I hear it. I hear it. But I'll go back.
Go back. Listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's saying, I don't have to see women as individuals because of X, Y, and Z reasons.
That you might do it that have nothing to do with you as an individual trying to signal for sexual
No,
attention.
go back further.
Do it that have nothing to do with you.
No, further. Yeah.
Right here.
Have implications for your ability to earn. So there are lots of reasons that you might do it that have nothing to do with you as an individual trying to signal for sexual attention.
All right. There you go. So women have all of these reasons why it isn't their individual choice to wear makeup. Social pressure, expectations for earning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
This is what he doesn't want to do. He does not want to acknowledge women's individual choice. I'm guessing, and this is a bit of analysis, it might be bad faith of me. He has a problem with the idea that women make choices and those choices have effects on their world. He has a problem with women's individuality. And this is something I've noticed with a lot of men, especially feminist and so-called moderate liberal. They really have a problem with the idea that women do not completely occupy a position of being acted upon by society. When it comes time to actually recognize that women's individual choices have had effects in their individual lives, they appeal to all kinds of stuff to try to ignore it and return women to the position of being victims of forces beyond their control. Usually victims of forces beyond their control that men like Brett can save them from. Just saying.
Yep. All right, let's continue.
It doesn't mean that those things didn't evolve as sexual signals, right? Sexual signals, to us evolutionary biologists, this is no news. I mean, if you're a woman and you've got breasts and you're walking around in the world, you're broadcasting a sexual signal, and that one's completely unconscious and involuntary. It's physiological.
Yeah, but, there's a complete difference between a woman who chooses to wear a sports bra that reduces jiggle and protuberance, and one who chooses to shelf them like, some freshly roasted baguettes, and say, and just wiggle them down the street. So there's a choice there. And often if you make the choice to have the sports bra underneath the sweatshirt, you're not going to get the same amount of attention as the baguettes wiggling their sugary way down the street. It's a choice. And that is not unconscious. I mean, nobody's going to say if a woman walks into into a workplace in some kind of genderless 1984 sack suit with no makeup on, that she's making the conscious decision to make a sexual display. No, she isn't. Just because she's a sexual being doesn't mean she's making a conscious decision to make a sexual display.
Right.
But if she walks in with a push-up bra, stuffed with those gelatin inserts, and her ass up because she's in high heels, and
in high heels,
and in like something that could, in a dress that's basically dental floss, that is a conscious decision to act like that.
Yeah, kind of like Rose McGowan when she was at an award show and she was basically wearing a bunch of strings. It looked like her dress went through a paper shredder and she decided to put it on anyway. It's a conscious choice. Look at Instagram. Instagram is full of women making very, very conscious choices while selling you fitness products or whatever.
So I don't even know why he's saying that, because this is a completely erroneous thing to even bring up. Anyway.
Yeah.
Illogical, right? So the idea that these signals are out there and common should become something we become comfortable with. The fact that males are involved in all kinds of signaling all the time, that the corner office, the mahogany desk, and it's not that a woman can't have a corner office and a mahogany desk, but traditionally speaking, those hallmarks of
I'm just pausing for the banana, but the fact is, when a man gets the corner office and the mahogany desk, that is a signal. When a woman does it, it's not quite as powerful, I don't think.
I sort of floated off on the mahogany desk.
He's saying that well, I'll go back. Hold on. Okay.
The fact that males are involved in all kinds of signaling all the time, that the corner office, the mahogany desk, and it's not that a woman can't have a corner office and a mahogany desk.
Nobody's denying that.
Yeah, but I think, that's just it. He's trying to say men do it too, unconsciously. But Peterson's not he's not denying that himself. But the point is the Vice interviewer and the people involved with the Me Too movement, it's only focused on what men do, whether they're conscious or unconscious, and their impact on sexual harassment. And it's all about policing them, their behavior, essentially making the workplace less free in the interest of protecting the women's.
Okay, so he's trying to make an equivalence between a mahogany desk and breasts.
Yeah.
I think that a mahogany desk as a sexual signal is a few orders of magnitude removed from what breasts represent as a sexual signal. I don't know.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, it's pretty clear, and the the fact is, because he says women also would get the corner office and the mahogany desk. They could. It wouldn't be as effective a sexual signal to men.
Okay, all right.
All right, so I got a super chat.
No. Before we get into the super chat. So he's saying that men having mahogany desks is a sexual signal, and presumably a conscious sexual signal, but he's arguing that women putting their breasts on display is an unconscious sexual... Okay, this doesn't even make any freaking sense. If you're going to argue that the mahogany desk is a sexual signal, then how the heck can you turn around and say that the breasts aren't? Like putting the breasts on display, not having breasts, putting them on display is not a sexual signal. And furthermore, doesn't that mean that the man with the mahogany desk in the corner office with his sexual display of this mahogany desk, well, he's, you realize for every one man in the corner office, you got 4 men who could possibly have corner offices, and how many men are in the center with a cubicle and a cat photo on their plastic desk? I guess they're not making a signal.
Well, he doesn't actually explicitly say whether the mahogany desk is conscious or unconscious. He just says that there's a lot of signaling going on. But it has to be conscious, because I think for him to make the argument that it's unconscious would be exactly the same as him making the argument that makeup is also unconscious, which is an argument he made. So who knows how little he knows about male sexual signaling, considering how little he knows about female sexual signaling, or at least appears to. Now, I know that there's people who are going to say that I'm strawmanning him. I'm just going after the arguments. I already said at the beginning I don't like Brett Weinstein because I have lots of reasons, but that's not why I'm coming after him.
Somebody says, Jason says, it's not like you're not understanding the evolutionary biology that's related. No, I understand it. The problem is that Brett wants to have it both ways. He wants sexual signals, makeup, to be unconscious sexual signal that women are giving off. And then the mahogany desk to presumably be a conscious sexual signal that men are giving off. Or maybe he wants both to be unconscious. Maybe everything that people are doing is all unconscious. I've never considered a mahogany desk to be a turn on personally. So.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go move on.
Okay, all right, moving on. Well, let me read the one super chat and then we'll go ahead. We're almost done here, actually. Fretchinator2 gives us $2 and says, Brett, all women are all the same, Weinstein. Weinstein, I got it right. All right, moving on.
Speaking, those hallmarks of
prestige and resource acquisition.
Yes, those things have implication in the sexual landscape that's very powerful, as does, frankly, humor. The way humor is used.
Well, this isn't really that important. He kind of goes into why, humor is also like a sexual signal. And yeah, it is. I mean, when men tell jokes, they're trying to be funny because it's attractive to women. Again, though, so does that mean that if you tell jokes in the workplace as a man, you could be accused of sexual assault because you are sending out a sexual signal? Or at least you're just, it's like a spray and pray approach where you're just telling a joke to a bunch of women, and the ones that respond to your sense of humor the most, you might focus in on a bit more. I don't know.
Why would he go with a mahogany desk? Why wouldn't he go with guys getting swole and wearing really tight button-up shirts?
I think because he's going more with the status aspect as opposed to the physical attractiveness aspect.
Yeah, but that's not really an evolved sexual signal, unless he's going to argue that we had mahogany desks in the savannah being lugged around by our hunter-gatherer ancestors. Not even our hunter-gatherer, just persistent hunter ancestors look at this delicious mahogany guest. It's going to get me laid by all the
Me.
other hominin women.
Ugh, travel many distance for wood. Now have desk. Me sit at desk, wait for women. Oh,
This
ugh,
is
is that desk mahogany? Yes. Please have my babies.
Oh my god. This is bad, actually. This is really, really bad.
Oh.
Oh man. There's some indication that I guess provisioning led to pair bonding. Provisioning by the male led to pair bonding. But it's I don't think it's quite as one-to-one as this is making out. That the mahogany desk itself is a sexual signal. Like it and also somebody else pointed out that this is male-male competition, which it quite likely is as well.
Yeah, sure it is.
It's just not the same kind of instinctive sexual signal as the breasts. It doesn't, like, how many women, when they watch porn, it constitutes people oiling mahogany desks? I'm going to Google that. I bet that is a form of porn.
Oh, sure. Okay, so a couple super chats. Cyberzerk gives us 50 seconds and says the mahogany desk is a power signal towards male competitors. I'm assuming he means competitors. It says competitioners. Yeah, sure. It's for both, I think. I think when a woman sees a man with what he means by mahogany desk obviously means that, you know, he has like some status, like the corner office. The mahogany desk means that he's a high status male. So it is attractive to women, but it also tells men, you know, it signals to men like, hey, I'm a high status male. You know, if you want to be in the same league as me, you got to have what I have. That's why a lot of times men compete in the workplace for, you know, higher positions and better, nicer offices and all of those little things that, I mean, the positions matter, but maybe the, you know, where you work, whether you have your own private office or whatnot, might be less important for getting your job done.
And, you know, hey, maybe Professor Peterson would agree that we need to consider what mahogany says as a signaling in the workplace, and whether or not we should allow mahogany in the workplace.
You have internalized mahogany, Allison, for bringing that up.
By the way, if you look up oiling mahogany porn, it doesn't. You don't really get pictures of people oiling. You don't get pictures of people oiling mahogany desks.
Okay. Godiva 7721 gives us $10 and says, to help with all your good works, Brian, your recent health battle has touched me. My husband now does monthly testicle exams. Thank you. Maybe you should give him those testicle exams. They're just saying. And then thank me. And have him thank me. Fretchinator2 gives us $5 and says, me have case of brief that hold many thing to make woman want baby. High status caveman. That's a meme. All right, so jumping into what?
I honestly, okay. This is something from I shouldn't do this. Halt and Catch Fire. Okay.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Halt and Catch Fire.
Let me tell you something. Like all of the supposed sexual signals in the show, which was barely about like high-powered businessmen creating computers. At least the first season. The one that seemed really, really explicitly obvious was when the guy who was heading the main computer project picked up a sledgehammer and destroyed a car. That seemed a lot more of a sexual signal than the mahogany desk he was at during most of the season, which I don't even know if he had a mahogany desk. It didn't really register on the radar for me. Anyway, I'm just putting that out there. Okay. Sledgehammers, demolishing cars. Much better sexual signals than mahogany desks. But that just might be me. Might just be me.
All right, moving on.
Get rid of all of this.
And if we look at something like an engagement ring, right? If you were to analyze an engagement ring anthropologically, right? So there are these
God, so fucking smug.
I know. To sort of, you see what I'm saying? Oh, And then on top of that, he gets like, for some reason, his brother starts showing up on talks. Brother had nothing to do with the Evergreen College shit at all. And I'm like, well, why is your brother Eric on Joe Rogan and then on Jave Rubin? Why? They don't. He's not, why? Why are you here? There's plenty of. I think that he's basically pulling. Well, he's just trying to. He's an opportunist. He's trying to basically like get whatever he can to put himself in front of a camera, on a microphone, at a podcast, so he can talk. I'm not saying he doesn't have anything to say, but there are much smarter guys that are doing it on their own without having to essentially find ways to get on bigger people's programs so they can talk. He annoys me. That's all I'm saying. He's really overrated, and he actually caused the problem that Evergreen College had, which ended up getting him in trouble and making him famous. That's what he's famous for, being the victim of a problem that he helped create. Good for you. All right, moving on.
Actually, the truth of it is there are these stones that aren't really that rare, but they've been made artificially scarce. And a man will get one of these stones and he will put it on a thing that can be put on a woman's finger. And the size of the stone and the quality of the stone, even though the stone is not actually useful for very much, it is symbolically important, and it is evidence of the woman's worth in some sense. In other words,
I'm just pausing it for a second. Okay, I don't think that's true so he's saying that.
Where the hell is this going?
Well, I don't know. He's just like saying some shit. But one of the things.
First of all, this isn't. Okay, go ahead.
No, one of the things that stood out for me, and the reason why I chose is because he makes the claim that the value of a stone determines the worth of the woman that the stone is being given to. So the more money a man spends on a stone, the more money the man is saying his woman is worth. And I don't know if I don't think that that's entirely accurate. I just, something about that strikes me as incorrect. Not completely, but you know what I'm saying? So what if
strikes me as.
Go ahead.
It strikes me as a man who's groping for female victimhood, for how women are oppressed by the size of the stone that they get in engagement. Like and there's no winning in this. If you get a woman a huge stone, you obviously are reducing her down to her sexual value. And if you get her a small stone, you're just thinking she's worthless. So I think we should examine Brett's brain anthropologically. I think that would be fascinating. Yeah. See how much of the brain is taken up by the mahogany region.
Okay, so a couple of super chats before I keep going. Fretchinator2 gives us $2. Thank you. And he says, if you do things the way I do, it's great. I think he's thinking about Brett, I guess. Bat Pepe gives us $5 and says, off topic, I know, sorry, but can Allison do a vid on first wave feminism or leave a link to one hashtag mahogany desks matter?
You missed one. Point Curation gives us $5.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very interesting icon there. We ought to tackle this wood as a status issue with an investigative agency, the Mahogany Bureau.
Darth Elwin gives us $5 and says, I can't stand how smug this guy is about his education. Anthropologically, please give me your sources and explain your methodology to me. And then Joey Jojo gives us $2 and says, oiling my mahogany is a great euphemism, to be honest. Okay. So this video clips from the Joe Rogan bit is almost over. And then I want to play the maybe something from the Jordan Peterson Vice thing that I thought was interesting. And then we'll be done. Is that cool?
Okay, I just want to. So what I'm thinking is happening here is Brett is making women out to be victims of engagement rings. Wow, that's really compulsive there. I think somebody was saying, oh, you don't understand psychology, unconscious. I think we're seeing something interesting in Brett's subconscious about how he needs to constantly reduce women down to victims. Yeah. And somebody said they wondered what his accomplished wife would think of what we're saying. I don't know. I presume that she's also into this whole women are victims of everything thing. You know, many accomplished women are. I find it fascinating. Well, no, actually not many accomplished women, but some are.
Mm-hmm. No, I think Brett believes in hierarchies between men and women with men at the top. I think that he genuinely believes that. So
okay.
Okay, so let's keep going.
Of the woman's worth in some sense. In other words, the larger the stone, it indicates that the man values her at a greater level. I mean, this is an absurd set of signals, and we treat it as if it's just nothing, you know.
That was on the extent of it. I mean, he goes a little bit more into it, and he says the woman gets the ring and she shows it to her friends, and her friends all, ooh and ah and all that. But he's trying, I think, to continue to make the case for how we have, as human beings, some ridiculous ways that we signal to each other. And so he's basically saying the whole thing is silly.
Would he also say that men are victims of social pressure in order to get engagement rings? If these are sexual signals that men are giving off, are men victims of social pressure, the mahogany industry's social pressure? Are men victims of De Beers' social pressure to get huge engagement rings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah. Everyone is a victim of social pressure, Brett. We still have to take responsibility for our choices.
Yeah. You don't ever have to do these things. This isn't government coercion at the end of a gun. This is, people tend to do things this way. Do I want to go along with everyone else, or do I want to do my own thing?
I don't know what Brett was actually getting at with this. I think that he was farting out some spaghetti just to distract from the actual point. Essentially, from what I'm getting from his argument is women's sexual signals are either unconscious or they're mandated by social pressure or financial pressure. Men also make sexual signals, no opinion on whether they're also mandated by financial or social pressure or unconscious pressure. Or I think maybe he was saying that the mahogany desk thing was unconscious sexual signal. Or maybe he's trying to say, well, men also make sexual signals in the workplace, like buying their girlfriend's engagement rings, which how is that a sexual signal in the workplace? But regardless, they purchase mahogany desks in the corner office, even though only 4 men on an entire floor could have a corner office with a mahogany desk by definition, and the rest are all going to be stuck with pressed fiber cubicles. So
I mean, unless the building is hexagonal.
Yeah, I guess. But then the corner offices would be oblique corner offices, which that's just gross. Shut up. All right.
Okay.
But it just feels more like he's throwing out a whole bunch of spaghetti, and for what?
To sound smart.
Maybe Peterson would say, yeah, we need to control the mahogany signaling in the office too, but only 4 guys are going to be doing that at most. So the rest of the men are okay. Whereas every woman who decides to display her breasts is making a sexual signal. Mm-hmm. Like there's a disproportionality here. Regardless, let's move on.
Okay, I'm gonna switch because there's not much else that's of any use in this.
I don't think most of what he said was of any use.
No, not a whole lot. But this is why I wanted to do this video, because if what we're doing is looking at some of the people who have larger platforms, larger followings, and they're discussing gender and the interaction between men and women, I think that we should be looking at the stuff that they're talking about, because this is the stuff that a larger portion of people are listening to, and God knows how many of them are walking away and saying, yeah, Brett Weinstein makes perfect sense. Women are, in fact, the victims of engagement rings and social pressure to wear high heels. That's totally normal for me. He's a smart guy. I want to watch him on the Rubin Report now. I agree with that. So, I mean, that's why I wanted to do it. Yes, it can be challenging because you're going to upset people who like these people, but tough. I mean, I'm not interested in that. So
just in the interest of summarizing everything, and I know I'm doing this again. Peterson said that makeup in the workplace is a sexual signal. Should women be allowed to make sexual signals in the workplace? Especially since they may complain about the sexual attention that the sexual signals is designed to eliciting or receiving. And then in response to that, Brett said, those signals are socially compelled or unconscious. And also men make signals like mahogany desks and engagement rings. I don't think that he's actually refuted what Peterson has said, nor has he refuted the fact that these signals are indeed conscious. Having breasts is an unconscious sexual signal. Putting them in a push-up bra is a conscious sexual signal. And he's being disingenuous if he's conflating the two. So I don't see an actual refutation of what Peterson was asserting. And he wasn't genuinely asserting it as it just, let's think about this. This is a blind spot. We need to think about this. And, well, fair enough. Brett said that he was just asserting it as a thought experiment. But I don't find Brett's response to Jordan Peterson's thought experiment to be relevant or actually refuting the points that he brought up. Just saying.
Just reiterating. All right, I want to read some super chats. Okay, here we go. Fretchinator2 gives us $2 and says, this Vice interview was an ambush of Peterson. Well, yeah, we know. I watched the long version, and the Vice interviewer was pretty much dead set on trying to poke holes in Peterson's thinking and get him in gotcha moments, as well as make him look like a hypocrite or something. And in my opinion, he failed. But I know there are people who don't like Peterson that will just go along with Vice no matter what. Or they're just not smart enough to see what Vice was trying to do and how Peterson, essentially avoided it, or avoided falling in the traps. Even Joe Rogan fell for it and said, oh, he came off as aggressive. And my thing is, what is wrong with being assertive when you make a statement? Why is that bad? I don't understand, So what? What's the problem? Why is it when men become aggressive when they talk, everyone starts freaking out and worrying? Peterson didn't punch the guy. He just got sick of his shit, maybe. I mean, I think he was just taking a hardline approach to talking to him because he could tell that this man was not trying to talk to him in good faith and have a discussion. He was trying to catch him. And that's actually really frustrating because you're not talking with someone and having a conversation. You're fencing with them. They're trying to fight you. And that means they're not listening to what you have to say, and they're not even arguing with you. They're arguing with the figment in their hair that they've created that they think is you. And that is really frustrating to do, to have a conversation like that. So yeah, Frenchinator, I agree with you. It's an ambush. Christopher Mann gives us $5 and says, this is for food for Mojo Tojo. I don't know who Mojo Tojo. Oh, is that your cat?
Mojo Tojo. Yeah, that's my cat. Because my cat has many toes. He's got more toes than most cats. He's got like 8 toes on his front paw. No, 6 toes on his. No, 7 toes on his front paws and 6 toes on his back paws. So he's got a lot of toes. So Christopher Mann calls him Mojo Tojo.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what. Yeah, well, Mojo Tojo would probably eat this because he tried to eat my earplugs, and thankfully he regurgitated them up. And now I have to keep them in a box because I don't want him to get a bowel blockage and die. But that's neither here nor there.
All right. Well, thanks. Thanks for looking up for Mojo and not for Jojo, but that's okay. All right.
Aww. Does Jojo eat earplugs or anything?
No. He chewed up my headphones, like the cord when I first brought him home, but he's been good about not eating shit that he's not supposed to so far.
Yeah, the earplugs really worry me, and I'm like, why would you eat my earplugs, cat? I've never met a cat that would do something like this, but Mojo Tojo will. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
One more Snapchat.
Yeah, one more super chat from Black Knight Fool, $5 Canadian. He says, false equivalence. Sperm / pursue / penetrate versus egg / lure / penetrated. It's harder for men to resist It takes more cognitive energy. Stop bashing Brett. He's okay. I don't know. I mean, I know that, I guess Black Knight Fool feels that Brett Weinstein is more on our side than we think, or than it appears to be. I don't know about that. Oh, somebody asked if we could, like, wouldn't it be better if we had them on to talk to them? Yeah, the thing is, I'm sorry, but this is just what I feel. We could try. I've messaged Brett Weinstein in the past. He never responded to me. I usually message all these people. I tried, Jordan Peterson, we got him on, but now he's really busy, and it's understandable if we can't get him on. Brett Weinstein, I don't think he showed an inkling of interest. And maybe it's because if he came on our show, he would lose popularity. Maybe it's because it's too risky. So it certainly isn't because he's interested in expanding the discussion. I mean, it's possible that, maybe I haven't seen all of his work, so I don't know. But personally, I don't think he's breaking any new ground. So that's my feeling on it. Allison, you want to respond to that too?
I don't really know that much about him. I know that
Yeah.
he had this thing happen to him, and I know that the college that he had this thing happen to him is melting down. To be honest, it's just another data point in a huge matrix of what this society is. So, to me. So I'm just gonna float back to the mahogany part of the brain. Just gonna contemplate it. Maybe pick up some mahogany to spice up bedroom, that kind of thing. We have another super chat.
Yeah. Fretchinator2 gives us $5 and says, Brian, did you see Peterson say, quote, if that's how you're going to do things, then up your... I don't know what up your means. Question mark. No, I don't know. Is that in this video? Because there was a lot that was said in the Vice interview, so I don't remember all of it. And plus, Vice has yet to upload the 2-hour version. So I guess we'd have to see that, because this kind of starts in the middle. And I wonder if Peterson was already annoyed with this guy at this point. Although I don't really think that's a problem if you're annoyed with somebody and you become more, aggressive in your speech, especially when they're being, like, you have to, like, recognize, and this is the reason why I get annoyed when people say, oh, I think that he came off as too aggressive and the other guy was totally not, or the other person. You have to, like, look and see if the other person's being a weasel and they're essentially using they're acting passive and they're acting inquisitive, but they're really just baiting you and trolling you into overreacting by constantly misinterpreting what you say, trying to catch you in a gotcha, trying to manipulate you. I mean, Kevin Logan used to do that when we used to bring him on with it was like his goal was to try to piss off one of us. And so when we responded at all assertively, not even angrily, just assertively and directly, he would say, why are you freaking out? Just calm down. Or are you getting emotional? But that was his goal. And that happens in these interviews. And you have to, because what the Vice people want to do, if they want to ruin you, then they're either going to try and get you in an argument that makes you, look stupid, if you are stupid, but it doesn't work on people like Peterson because he's not stupid. But if they can't do that, then they try to make you look irrational, emotional, or unhinged. And to do that, they will try to get you to emotionally react. And so one could argue that from a tactical perspective, maybe Peterson came across as aggressive. But because I can see past that shit, I don't think that actually invalidates his arguments, which is the most important thing. That's what I think, anyway.
All right.
So anyway, I want to hear the rest of this Peterson thing, because he does say something that I find pretty interesting. Wait, where's the clip about... Or maybe it's after this.
Okay.
I do think that.
Okay, let's move on.
I don't see how you could not think that. It's like makeup is sexual display. That's what it's for. You say, well, I want to look more attractive. It's like, what do you mean by attractive exactly?
So then what is a better outcome for you then? A workplace with no sexual harassment, where women wear uniforms and don't wear makeup.
Pausing for the banana.
Yep, and we have to with Vice, because Vice is really strict about their copyright.
Yeah.
Much like the Maoists, like you were saying. Or
oh, yeah, that's right. Peterson says, maybe it's a little earlier, but that was the thing I wanted to get to. This is after that. He says in Maoist China, they made men and women wear uniforms and not wear makeup so that you didn't have any, or at least it drastically reduced sexual displays in the workplace. And I think that he didn't just say that to just make a random comparison. He was making a point. He was saying if you want to live in the same way that Maoist China lived, to avoid sexual harassment, then feel free to pursue or go down that road. He was I think he was making a point. It was pretty cleverly done because this guy didn't catch it. I think it just sort of breezed over him that he was saying, what you would do wouldn't just restrict men's freedoms, but you would also restrict women's freedoms. And that's something that Vice wouldn't want to do because they essentially want men to be restricted in their behavior, in the way they act, in the way they dress, in the way they interact with women, in the way they even look at women or talk to women. I mean, there are places that have banned hugging in the workplace, For example, there are places that have, I think it's like another network that has said if there is a romantic involvement between two coworkers, you have a duty to report them. It's like this is actually mandated in the businesses here, okay? And he's saying if you want to live under those kinds of conditions, you are going to hurt women as much, if not more, than men. Do you want that? Because Vice doesn't want that. They want women to be able to do whatever they want and have complete freedom to live in a completely risk-free environment, while men have to essentially carry the burden of everything that involves making women comfortable. And they do it, they believe it without even considering the implications.
And as for the people who are saying, well, Brett, we should appeal to what he has to say or that I'm being too harsh, this is the behavior that I'm seeing. He's reducing women down to victimhood in a way that he wouldn't do for men. I mean, is he going to say that men are victims of the social pressure to have mahogany desks? And if so, what does that even relate to whether or not we should have makeup in the workplace? We can have the discussion about the mahogany desk sexual signaling as well with the makeup discussion. So I don't see how that impacts it. Anyway, this is the behavior that I'm seeing. I don't know how he is as a person. I don't know his character. Usually people with character, you point out that they may be engaging in behavior that's unbecoming and they'll change that. So who knows? But this is the behavior I see. He's reducing women down to unconscious creatures and victims of their own choices that are conscious choices. I'm going to call it out when I see it. And at this point in time, I don't care about appealing to people. Because, to be quite frank, we're at the precipice of losing our society. We're at the precipice. If I'm going to appeal to the people who continue to perpetuate the social dynamics and the habits that are tipping us over the cliff, I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm not going to be proving anything. I'm not going to be making a positive change. So I'm done appealing to people. Done. Okay, let's continue. Let's finish this off.
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's anything. I could play more of the Peterson interview, but that's all the sound. That's all the timestamps I had.
All right. Well, then that's it.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that, or was this a worthwhile stream?
I think it was a worthwhile stream. We'll see what happens with it. I would suggest to people, if you're in the Los Angeles area, the Red Pill is having a premiere at Cal Poly Panoma on March 5th at 4 p.m. I would suggest going to the Red Pill movie website to find out the specifics. Cassie has sent me a message saying that the organizer is concerned that only a few people will be attending. So if you are able to attend, if you're in Los Angeles and you're able to attend, please go. Cassie will be there doing the Q&A. And if you enjoy this content, if you like this challenging material.
Wait, I have a shill.
All right, go ahead.
Can I make a shill? Okay. So a couple of years ago in 2016, when I actually started to contract testicular cancer, or at least to start to show itself, which isn't really relevant, but I went to the UK for the ICMI 2016. there we met and interviewed a man who was working on a documentary called American Circumcision. And I was waiting for this to come out. Apparently it has, with some limited release, but they're currently trying to get this film released in America. So there is a Kickstarter for American Circumcision release, which I will link in the low bar. If you want to see this film get released in America, it needs $20,000. They're already at $11,850. This is definitely a very important film that I think needs to be seen everywhere. And yeah, I mean, this is a lot of work, but I think just like The Red Pill, this is a very important movie, especially if you care about circumcision and what we should do about it. So I'll put a link in the low bar. Please consider donating to American Circumcision. And that's it. I'm done. I'm done with my shill.
Not donating to the practice. Not donating to the practice.
No,
donating
film.
to the movie.
Yeah.
All right, and final shill. If you enjoy this content, the reason why we can bring it to you with such regularity is because we have a wonderful set of patrons and supporters who put some money in the hat. So if you want to make sure that Honey Badger Radio is a part of your life and you enjoy our content, please go to www.feedthebadger and feed the badger. Thank you. I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, let's get out of here then.